Hotel history is created for adult audiences. Content may not be suitable for all listeners. Discretion is advised. You're listening to Hotel History. We take you with us through the sordid history and scandals of some of the world's most famous and infamous hotels. I'm Dieta.
And I'm Yael. Let's get started.
We are here today with the creator and host of Top Floor Hospitality podcast, Susan Berry. Susan, thank you so much for coming on today.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. This has been such a long time coming, and I'm thrilled to get to talk to you on the recording, although we could probably talk for 8 hours off the recording for sure.
I feel like we already had 3 podcasts.
Yeah. I know.
I'm like, oh, this is finally going to reach people's ears. That's nice.
Yes.
All right, well, so let's start from the very beginning. What inspired you to create Top Floor, and what gap did you feel that it filled in the hospitality conversation?
Well, the origin story of the show is sort of convoluted. I was co-hosting a podcast about marketing with a good friend of mine, and he ended up having to shelve the show because he took a full-time job and like they wouldn't let him do it, or he was too busy or something like that. And so we had to end the show. But I knew I really loved the medium. I was like, oh, this is so fun. I love doing this. And so I had on my big whiteboard in my office the word podcast written. And I'm like, I got to think of a podcast. What can I do? How can I do it? And during the pandemic, I was in this mastermind group with a bunch of women who all own hospitality related companies. So there were 5 of us. And we met once a month and just sort of talked about like what's going on, what are you seeing in the market and whatever. And at a certain point, I had said to them, like, I have the podcast written on my board and I'm trying to make it happen, but I don't know what to do. And I can't like seem to focus. And one of them, my friend Amy Infante, said, oh, you just need to sell it first and then figure it out after that. Because if you wait until you figure it out to sell it, you're never going to figure it out. And sell it is not an exchange of money in this case, but I ended up talking to what was then Long Live Lodging, which was a podcast network in hospitality about doing a show. Sold them, as it were, the show. And then that forced me to get my act together and come up with a concept and a name and all that good stuff. So that's the origin story. The inspiration, I guess, is really, it's probably like a little bit of a cliche, but it's just curiosity. I'm so insatiably nosy and curious about everything. And I've been a hotelier for a really long time, but turns out every time I think I know every single thing there is to know about this industry, something new or unknown to me comes along. So it's pretty endless topic for exploration. And there's something else which is sort of reflected in the loading dock segment on my show. Hospitality stories are insane. I guess people lose their minds when they check into hotels and go to restaurants and stuff like that. The craziest things that you could ever imagine happen in this industry. And I had a real desire to hear more of those stories, collect those stories up. I was sort of inspired by, I'm not going to think of the name of it right now, but it's a national national project to collect the oral history of Americans. And so they'll set up like StoryCorps booths. I think it's an NPR project or a PBS project, something like that. They'll set them up in cities and people just go and sort of tell their oral history of themselves. And I was like, I would love to have that for the hospitality industry. It is really hard to get people to tell their crazy stories. And so the show tricks them into doing it by letting them talk about their careers first.
That is genius.
That is genius.
Yes, exactly. So
I also don't think your answer of curiosity is cliche at all, because I'm also incredibly curious. And my mom's like, you should have been an investigator or like a lawyer. But I don't think enough people are curious.
Interesting. Maybe that's true. I mean, I for sure make up for the people who aren't curious. I have enough
Same.
curiosity for 25 people.
Now I'm very intrigued about what your favorite loading dock stories have been. Have there been any that just really stuck with you?
There are so many. I should tell you this one. I might not be able to remember all the details, but my friend Chris Daly told this story in one of our very first episodes. Like he was probably episode 7 or something like that. But it fits in beautifully with your summer, your cosmic summer, because it's a well, I'll just tell you. So, Chris is a PR professional for hotels and hospitality companies. And he got a call from a hotel that they were representing because a guest was threatening to go to the media, call the police, call the FBI, all this stuff, because during their night's sleep, he and his wife were attacked by aliens while they slept and perhaps investigated by these aliens physically, if you know what I mean. I'm not doing it justice. Chris tells the story so much funnier, but that's a really telling tale of how people act in hotels.
Were they on drugs?
I don't know if they were on drugs or if they were missing the drugs that they needed to take to not have hallucinations of aliens. It's probably a 50-50 shot on either one of those.
Okay. Wow. That is a unique story.
Indeed,
yeah, you would never forget that if you experienced.
Exactly. And I mean, I'll tell you, that is just one of hundreds and hundreds of stories that people have told me, both on and off the record. The off the record ones are even better, but unfortunately, I cannot share them.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Wow, I there is like a psychology of hotels, right? That when people go to hotels, something happens that makes them act really bad.
It's true. I mean, not just bad, but just it's like a full departure from your day-to-day personality. In some ways, that's good. You know, hotels are, I think, still very glamorous and very magical. Even a generic, business hotel can be glamorous and magical. It's like something like there's a mindset shift when a guest checks in and people feel like they can behave in, I don't know if aspirational is the right word, but like they can be who they wish they were. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Whether that means they behave like a wild drunken fool or just a crazy person. I don't know. But there's definitely something to that.
I mean, yeah, what's crazy is that people who aren't rich and famous do that. And that makes a little bit more sense because no one knows who they are and they can recreate themselves. But when the famous, the like when politicians go to hotels and they think no one is going to find out that they're taking a prostitute to the hotel room, and you're just like, wait, you were elected for your like intelligence? I don't believe that.
Don't you think there's some kind of hubris of it? Like, they hear yes, and people just sort of like agree with them all the time. So that they get in this bubble of thinking that everything that they do is fine. I don't know. But you're right. Like, or just think that they're invisible. You know that I am a person standing here behind this front desk. Like, I can see you. I mean, I've done it myself. I've acted a pure fool in a hotel before. In fact, one in LA, I almost got kicked out of because I was at a training class and it was all like, this is in my early 20s. It was all people my age. We were staying at the Westin LAX and we had like we were hoteliers, right? We were at a hotel training. We had sales training all day long. And then we had sales summer camp all night long. And we were in the swimming pool and running through the bar and acting like pure fools and got in so much trouble. But of course, hospitality people, so much trouble is like, we'd really prefer if you would leave the pool now, not call the cops. You know what I mean?
After interviewing so many leaders in hospitality, what qualities do the best hoteliers have in common?
I think if you asked a lot of people, they would say a desire to serve people or a hospitality heart. And to me, those two things are so patronizing and insulting. Like, people don't work in this industry because they want to be subservient. They do it because they want to delight other people. It's a different thing. I had a guest on who talked about the difference between being a servant and a host. And I think the best hoteliers are the best hosts. They really just want everyone there to feel delighted and have a great time. I think in terms of building a great hotel career, the sort of natural desire, natural inclination to say yes to things. This comes up over and over and over again. Like every time I interview a CEO, that person will say, I mean, I just said yes when people asked me to do stuff. So I ended up learning a lot and it made me really well rounded. And I pretty often will push back and be like, okay, but, you know, does that mean that you were doing 8 people's job at one time? Like, is that really fair to expect people to do that? And with almost without fail, the response is like, it didn't bother me because it was interesting. Like, I wanted to learn, I wanted to understand how this thing worked or how, we can flip rooms quickly or whatever the case may be. So that sort of like just natural, the answer is yes. I'm not sure that this is very common, but I think it's a really good quality for a hotelier is the willingness to look outside the industry for inspiration. The hotel business is based a lot on apprenticeship. So rather than rewarding people for like getting their doctorate in hospitality or whatever, we are very distrustful of people from outside the industry. And there's a lot of like word of mouth training or like, this is, let me show you how things are done, sort of like an apprenticeship program, which means that the industry is sometimes insular and slow to adapt. And so I think people who are willing to look outside the industry and get inspired, not just by technology, but certainly that, but culture and, all of that kind of stuff, I think is really important.
There's, I think, 2 things that kind of come up for me is that one, the curiosity thing is correct. You have to have a curiosity.
Yes. And a like desire to learn. You know what I mean?
An openness. And that's like you need to be open to ideas. You need to want to learn. And if you're not, those 2 things are going to make you adaptable. And if you don't have that, your hotel's going to go down.
Yes. Well, because think about it. We already established that people act like lunatics, right? So if you can't move on the fly, you're in big trouble.
Yeah, you need some flexibility for sure.
Yes.
Well, that also makes a lot of sense as to why a lot of the hoteliers that we have interviewed, they, even if they were born into a family of hotel owners, they still are like, well, I started at the front desk or I started here and now I'm in this position. And that the apprenticeship makes so much sense that the best ones, of course, they understand the entire business because they worked their way through every single job so that they would understand.
Yeah. And I will tell you that I'm not necessarily like a big cheerleader for that approach or for that approach being the exclusive approach, because I think we have to figure out a way that we can bring people into the industry who have degrees and not make them start at a minimum wage job. Like, we have to figure that out. There has to be some respect for education and, bringing people from outside the industry in. But I am as guilty of it as anybody else. Like, when I talk to hotel technology person and they've never worked in a hotel before, I'm like, why are you here, bro? You got to go do some shifts at the front desk and figure it out, or go strip some rooms or something. There's definitely just this ingrained lack of trust for people who've never done it. You two excluded, of course.
I have worked at a hotel.
I know.
So I feel like I get some credit.
You do,
and
of course.
But I will say this. I agree that there should be both outside and inside. But what's nice about hotels, at least not trusting the maybe the degree people, is that it kind of preserves this space where it's very inclusive to like immigrants and to those who don't have the education, and they can build up, and I think if it's too much of the, I'm a professional, let me do this, it kind of then who's making the rules, and then do you expect these people to go and get degrees when they can't and they're trying to support their kids? And so I think I see both perspectives, and
it's an excellent point. I mean, the hotel business is probably one of the few remaining sort of American dream industries where it's said so often that it becomes a little bit of an eye roll, but you truly can start as a boy or a housekeeper and end up being CEO of a company without a doubt.
Yeah. But I guess just like anything, there needs to be a balance of, like, I think actually anyone who works maybe in an executive or like something like a higher position right away in the hotel should have to go through training where they need to spend like a month doing all different kind of jobs just so they can understand how the system works. Because you can tell when someone has never really done anything and they're the managers and you're like, excuse me, what? You want us to do what? Like you don't know what the day-to-day
exactly. But it's tough, right? Because then if it's only someone who worked or only ever people who worked their way up, then that's when you get in my day, we just wrote all the reservations down by hand. Yeah, you know what I mean?
We've always done it this way.
Exactly. And that is a dangerous place to be too. So it's for sure.
So from your perspective, are today's hotels still shaping culture in the same way they did a century ago? Or is it just, this is where we sleep and we don't really care so much about the building and its iconic history anymore?
I don't know. I don't know if I have a good answer to this. I would like to think that the answer is yes. I am sometimes discouraged by the lack of differentiation in our industry, that there are so many thin sliced brands that don't have a lot of meat on the bone. In other words, like they don't really mean anything. They're just like brands created so that the franchisor can sell more franchises to franchisees without getting into the geographic trouble of the same hotel on every block or what, you know what I mean? That to me is a little bit like, we can do better than this. Like we can make something so much cooler. I feel like there have been a lot of very famous hoteliers who have said this, so I'm going to do a bad job of remembering who to quote. I think it's the Holiday Inn guy. I can't remember his name right now. People talk about the fact that hotels are under demolished, that buildings that have no significance, no meaning, just continue to get cycled through so that they start at one brand and then they get rolled down the brand chain scale. And there's no real reason for that. I don't know. What do you think about that? Do you think hotels are still culturally relevant? Obviously, or you wouldn't have a podcast about hotels, although it is about historic hotels.
Yeah. I think hotels have some work to do if they want to be the cultural icons that we associate hotels like the Plaza and the Savoy as. Not necessarily through any fault of what the hotels have done, but just because of how society has changed. Hotels used to be the places where Marilyn Monroe would hold her press conferences at whatever hotel she was staying at to send to the world the message that she needed to. But now people do that in their living room on their phone. And so hotels aren't the place that celebrities needed to be seen or go and hide so that they could create all of those great stories that we love to talk about.
It's true. That's a good point. And I feel like there's probably not probably, there definitely is white space for reinvention right now because the industry is very commodified. I think something like 70% of hotel rooms in the United States are branded, and that leaves 30% that are independent. That feels a little out of balance. Like, I'd love to
Yeah.
see some more interesting, cool
But
hotels.
I think I understand why that is, and there are some brands that don't want to take the uniqueness away from the smaller hotels. So they'll like the autograph collection, or
Hmm.
they'll have the funding and the backing of Marriott, but or
Yeah,
whatever,
the soft
right?
brands. Hmm.
And so I think I see that a lot. Which they're kind of like saying, hey, you can do what you want, but we want a piece of that pie.
Yeah.
So here's the funding, but keep doing that. And I think that's nice, because the reality is that without that big funding, they wouldn't be able to survive or do renovations, or
Yeah.
it's
Well, they're not giving them funding. They're just giving them membership into the loyalty program. And so that's a
oh really? So
big,
they're not they don't owe them. I mean own
mm-mm,
them.
not even close. Nope.
So then what's the
Marriott
point of
doesn't
that?
own any hotels. Brands don't own hotels. The the industry is so confusing for that reason. Most properties have three major stakeholders: the brand, the operator, and the owner. And most of the time, those are different people completely. So, in a situation with like an autograph collection, like a soft brand, the exchange of value is the owner of the hotel pays to be a part of Marriott's loyalty program, because the loyalty program then is like a pipeline of guests for them.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that about the autograph. That explains a lot. That's very interesting. See, they don't tell
It's
us that.
very sneaky. I think that there is so much that's hidden about the hotel business. Like, do you remember during COVID when people were getting those PPP loans? And I would see these outraged posts like on Facebook and Twitter and whatever, where people were like, Marriott shouldn't be getting a PPP loan. And you had to explain to them, like, Marriott doesn't own that hotel. Someone in your community probably owns that
Yeah.
hotel. It's a whole different business model and ball game. But it's very confusing, and I think it's deliberately confusing.
Oh, I think so too. Yeah, that's really interesting. But I guess there is a benefit either way to be a part of these big brands. So that's why so many, you know, yeah, some people just don't, they're not there for the creativity or the right
Hmm.
reasons, and they just kind of want to own the McDonald's of hotels.
Yes, it's a commodity.
Yeah. But I think also that sheds light on maybe where hotels stand in terms of like making a cultural difference. So it's no, as you said, if there's 30% only of the independent hotels, that's the people who are like, I have a great idea for a hotel.
Well, and think about some of the iconic properties like the Hotel Del is a Hilton, or the Roosevelt in New Orleans is a Waldorf Astoria. Come again? But when you get the amount of consolidation that the industry has, or for big brands, that means people have basically four choices where they can earn points and get their status and, all that stuff. So it makes sense for a hotel owner to be like, well, if I want to keep playing in this ball game, I better get on one of these four teams.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's fine. And I think that shouldn't actually affect whether a hotel wants to be like more culturally involved. I what I think is missing is hotels not collaborating enough with the locals and with the city itself,
That's a really good point.
which is so strange because when I go on social media and I see the city of Santa Monica or the city of West Hollywood, whatever, and they're obviously spending money on advertising, but then they don't do anything with anyone.
Hmm.
Or they'll only like collaborate and then complain about collaborating with an influencer and they're like these influencers. I'm like, but you're collaborating with them, and
Right.
they're not doing. You're not there. There's something missing. There's something.
Well, because if you think all these hotels are they pay a marketing fee to their brand. And so if they're paying a fee for marketing to XYZ brand, that money is gone. They don't have any money to do local stuff. So it always makes me laugh when you hear hoteliers talk about like, what people want now are experiences. People have always wanted experiences. If you give all of your money to someone in a building 10 states away and they're doing email marketing for you, that does not an experience make, my friends.
So, I mean, there are hotels that do exist that are still making creative choices and trying to level up, I guess you could say.
Oh, totally.
For
Tons
sure.
of them.
So, out of everyone that you've spoken to, who do you think doesn't get enough credit for making a hotel memorable?
I think every single category of person related to a hotel, whether it's the C-suite, designers, owners, anybody, there is so much more care and thoughtfulness and deliberateness that goes into every single thing that happens in hotels, even like really boring, like pedestrian decisions. For example, fabric or, textiles or whatever. I've interviewed a couple different textile designers, and the way that they describe the thought that goes into choosing textiles, not just color and the sort of story of how it fits into the design scheme and all that stuff, but how it will be used and where it's positioned and how frequently it will be touched. So what kind of durability it needs. I mean, that's kind of a silly example, but the thing that I can tell you is that despite what we've said about the sort of like, why are hotels so boring these days? The people who work in them and work with them and run them even at the highest levels don't want them to be that way.
Okay. Oh, really?
But I do think that what ends up happening is that because of the variety of stakeholders that are involved in every project, it's like who pays for it? Who's in charge? Who makes the decision? Is it within brand standards? Are we allowed? All of those different things. There are so many stakeholders that it's hard to move anything forward. But I think that hotel people care so much.
That makes sense. So, when we
Yeah.
interviewed the GM of the Sheraton in Stockholm, they had just done a huge renovation. And the things that she was talking about, like she was like, I knew we had to have this and I fought for it so hard. And they were like, it's too expensive. And I was like, it's a must. We have to. Mm-hmm. And so I think I could definitely see that they fight for things and maybe they don't always win those battles.
Yeah, well, I mean, and it's competing demands, right? Because, in fairness, the people who we could easily position as the bad guys, like the brand overlords or the owner who only cares about real estate value, I mean, they have responsibilities too. They have demands that are, if Marriott doesn't stay the top loyalty program, then what happens to everybody that works at Marriott? You know what I mean? There's a whole like ecosystem of it. So it's a lot of competing priorities that are hard, but I think that hotel people care. I think that's why you can still have an amazing experience even at the literal most boring seeming hotel because people care.
I think you can tell. Yeah, you could go in, and when you have a good experience with staff and like the vibe of the people change your experience, where it could be a boring hotel and you're like, oh, I like this. It makes sense. What advice would you give someone who wants to build a career in hospitality today?
I think the thing that people say a lot is still so true. You can make a huge career in this industry with or without educational credentials, with or without sort of highbrow upbringing and regardless of where you come from, even when it feels like it's going slow, the trajectory in hospitality tends to be incredibly fast for people who care a lot, try hard, and work really hard. Um, the idea that saying yes and being not only willing but eager and almost insatiable about learning is important for hospitality, just like it is for any other industry. But I think especially in hospitality, because there is such a bias toward apprenticeship and toward having the day in, day out experiences. The other advice I would say, and this is something that I had no idea of until I was way too far along in my career to make a difference. There are so many jobs that are related to hospitality that people have no idea exist. Like if you think about wanting a hotel career, you think like, okay, I'm going to work in operations, work my way up, become a general manager, maybe a VP, maybe CEO, and then I'm done. But there's an entire world of other things that are related: design, construction, project management, podcasting, content creation, real estate, finance, investing. Like there are just so many things and it never ends. And just when you think you've reached, like, I've written down every single possible job there is in hospitality, more new ones get invented. I always talk to, or I always say this if I have the opportunity to talk to a parent of a college student, to not freak out about what they're learning or what they get their degree in, because the job that is going to make up the majority of their career probably doesn't exist yet. So just calm down, learn what you
Yeah.
are interested in, and then follow the market, follow what happens.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we couldn't go to school for podcasting.
Of course not. Or, when I started my company in 2009, we don't quite do this anymore, but we started as a social media agency for hotels. That didn't exist 5 years before I started my company, much less when I was in college 100 years before I started my company. Like it did not exist. So, and just think about now how frequently a social media manager job is like the first on a long series of marketing jobs people get.
Yes. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. What trends do you think historians are going to look back on as defining this era of hospitality?
This is the hardest question, Dieta. Why would you ask me this? I don't know. I mean, I I don't know if I have a good answer for this, but there's such a strong difference between branded and independent hotels right now. And independent hotels are able to be so flexible, obviously, because they don't have as many stakeholders. So, all of these big leaps in technology that are taking place right now, I'm trying not to say AI, but we know that I'm talking about AI. They are actually able to be the sort of vanguard of that, right? Because they don't have 400 million stakeholders that they have to get approvals from. So, it's almost like we're inverting the conventional wisdom. It used to be you hook up with a brand because they have the best technology, the best systems, the best operation, design, blah, 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 blah. And now the barriers to all of those things are the lowest they've ever been. So it really feels like independent hotels have a chance to sort of shoot out in front again, specifically technologically speaking, but also design and a lot of other things too, because, all you have to do is clickety clack around and find ideas. It's not like the olden times when, you had to call and get books of textile samples mailed to you or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's exactly a trend that historians would look back on, but I think it's a trend that's happening right now.
Okay, so fun questions now. What
Okay.
is the hotel that you've returned to the most and why?
So this is a really hard question for me to answer because in my career, I have had years where I spent 200 nights in hotels and like many, many months at the same hotel. So I'm not going to consider it like the most nights that I've spent, but where I have been on leisure trips the most times, and that would be the Palace in San Francisco. That is the most magnificent, beautiful, historic hotel. I happened to have a good friend who worked there for a really long time, so I had a nice little hookup. And I've stayed there probably 3 or 4 times, so not tons, but enough. It's absolutely gorgeous. They have a case in the lobby that includes letters from when they had to claim all the liquor from people during Prohibition. It was taken down by an earthquake and then rebuilt. Like, it's an amazing hotel. You need to check it out. One of the times that I went there, I surprised my husband with tickets to see the Grateful Dead or whatever their iteration was at that time at the Civic Center in San Francisco. And my friend was still working at the Palace, so he upgraded us to the presidential suite because it was New Year's and he didn't want to sell that room because then it would be like partiers and it would get trashed. So he upgraded us to have it. And it's a long story that we do not have time for right now. But when I check into a hotel room, I go on a thorough investigation. I'm looking in every drawer. I'm looking under every piece of furniture, look under the cushions, all this stuff, because you just never know. Well, in this room, there was a fireplace, and on either side of the mantle were 2 vases. So I was just like, like you do, peeked inside the vases, and one of them was full of a bag of joints. So that's why I like the Palace.
So you had your own New Year's party in the penthouse.
I'm not saying that they were for me, but we did go to a Dead show and it was a perfect celebration.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
It's almost like the hotel knew why you were in town and
true.
Just left you a little surprise, a welcome gift.
Do you think that the band stayed at that room?
I don't know, but somebody left some treasures behind. In all fairness, I do not partake, but we had plenty of people around who were happy to enjoy it. So that was a very special memory from the Palace.
You should have just gone around the hotel instead of tipping. just
hand out loose joints. Yeah. Here you go.
You would have the best service. Everyone would love you.
Oh my God.
That hotel I just went on the website. That is a beautiful hotel.
It's so up your alley. You guys have to go.
Yeah. You know what it kind of looks like? The lobby has that atrium look. It looks like the Metropole in Russia. And like it's from the show, my God, I'm blanking on the name.
Gentlemen in Moscow.
I read that book, but I didn't know it was a show.
Yeah, they turned it into a show.
Are you kidding me? That is one of the best books I've ever read.
Oh my God.
It's such a good book. And the show was actually really good. They did a good job.
Oh, I'm so happy to know that. I didn't know it was a show.
Yeah.
I want to say Stars. Maybe
Stars. That's why no one knows it.
Yeah, because I had to specifically go and get Stars just so I could watch the show.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, I did a free trial.
Yeah, it was very, very good. I was so because that's one of my favorite books. So I was so happy they did a good job with it.
Totally.
Yeah, he's now Immortals is one of the authors where I will just immediately read whatever he puts out because of that book.
I really love it. If you could check into any hotel at any moment in history, where and when would you go?
I have 2 answers. The first is the Paris Ritz right after it opened. Speaking of books, there's a book called Ritz and Escoffier that's about how Caesar Ritz and Escoffier opened that hotel. And it just sounds like the culmination of both of their entire careers. Like that was the moment where they got everything right. So I would love to go there. Plus, I think I would be able to afford it then. Whereas now it is the most expensive place in the history of time. We went maybe 3 or 4 years ago just to have a drink at the bar. And I think one drink was like more than 50 euros. I was thrilled to have the experience, but we left after one and went to another Hemingway favorite, which was much more affordable and also had hot dogs. So Now you know.
I will feel like such an American to be eating a hot dog.
It's so
Paris
cool, though.
bar.
I think it's Harry's bar. I mean, it's a very famous Paris
Oh,
bar.
yes.
And then the other one would be now the Savoy, after reading Last Call at the Savoy during the time of Ada and all of the,
Yes.
like when that bar was really famous. Oh God, that book is so good. And I'm dying to go there. So.
Well, you could go at a time when Ritz and Escoffier were working at the Savoy and stealing money from D'Oyly before they opened the Ritz.
Yeah. I forgot about that. And do you think that's true that they were really stealing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
that's
like,
amazing.
they were doing it.
I mean,
we have episodes about the Savoy. And we read a whole book about Richard D'Oyly and how he started it. And it's really interesting.
I have to catch up on those then. Yeah, it's very interesting. You know, when you read Ritz and Escoffier, so many weird things about working in hotels start to make sense. One of them is the weird perks that hotel people get. Because I think this is right. I think that Caesar Ritz allowed employees to have all of their laundry done for them. And every hotel I worked at, my dry cleaning was free.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well,
I don't know if they still do that. I mean, and I was a manager, you know, I had to wear a suit and stuff every day, but I never paid for dry cleaning until I left the hotel. And I was like, holy crap, I had no idea how much dry cleaning cost. I want to be throwing away all these dry clean only clothes and wearing t-shirts every day from now on.
Yeah. If it can't make it through the washer and dryer, it is not for me.
Bye.
Okay, well, you've been working on a new project that I thought was very cool because we're very into the comeback of analog. So tell us about your Top Floor Mail Club.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited that you're asking me about this because this is like one of my dorkiest things that I have been working on. I started seeing people, mostly artists, do mail clubs where they send a letter and maybe a print and some stickers or something like that out to their subscribers every month. And I am not an artist, but I love paper and I love like everything ephemera, stickers, little tickets, like all that crap. And I thought, and I also love thrifting. So I was like, I bet you I could make a mail club with almost all secondhand supplies and do it on a hotel and travel theme because I hadn't seen anybody really doing that, you know, because they're artists, they're doing art. Not me, I'm doing nonsense. So I started the Top Floor Mail Club, and our first mailing closes in just a few days. And probably when this airs, it will be long after. So the first month theme is the Great American Road Trip, inspired by Route 66's 100th anniversary and the fact that it's summertime and people are taking road trips. So it's filled with all kinds of goodies related to that. And yeah, people can subscribe and get mail filled with silliness from me every month.
I love that. The fact that you have time to do that's also amazing.
I don't have time. I'm insane. But I will tell you this, this sounds like a humble brag and I don't mean it to. I'm not like a real relaxed person. Like I don't just really relax that much. But there's something so relaxing to me about doing paper projects, like cutting, like I like to make collages and stuff, and just for fun, you know, for relaxation, such as it is. And so the things that I've been making and doing for Top Floor Mail Club are actually really fun and really relaxing. I mean, it is so much fun. I'm having a freaking ball. I have almost the entire year planned out. I have some stuff for each of the months. Like it's so exciting.
Our last question. This is a question I ask because I make an illustration out of it and I'll post it. What's your favorite hotel bar and what cocktail would you order there? And who would you want to meet for drinks, living or dead?
Because I am extra, I have three answers to this question.
Okay.
So I will tell you each one of the three, and then you can decide which one is the best. Number one is the Pied Piper at the Palace in San Francisco. There is a Maxfield Parrish mural in that bar that is so compelling and interesting to me. And the drink I get there is a sidecar,
Okay.
Chef's Kiss. Here's something crazy. I was doing a consulting project for a hotel in San Francisco, went to the Pied Piper, got oysters and a sidecar, like had all that, went back to my room, was scrolling through Facebook. This was a minute ago, like a few years ago. Scrolling through Facebook, and almost on the exact day, like 7 years before, I had posted the same sidecar, same oysters at the Pied Piper at the Palace. Isn't that wild?
Oh my God.
I
It's meant to
know.
be.
Time is circular.
Yeah.
The second one, the common theme here is that this bar also has a really cool mural, but I cannot remember who the artist is. The Sazerac Bar at the Roosevelt in New Orleans.
Mhm.
This bar is so cool, and they told us the story after it reopened after Hurricane Katrina. It has like these doors that were built. I mean, they're probably from the early 1900s or late 1800s, but they look like they're from like medieval France or whatever. And I think there was something happening there where they couldn't lock the doors, or I can't remember. There was some story about that. But anyway, that is a beautiful, very dark hotel bar. And a Sazerac is all you can ever get at the Sazerac bar. They also have the Ramos. Do you say Ramos or Ramos Gin Fizz?
Oh yeah, the Ramos.
That drink is gross, but it is very famous. So you could get that there too.
Yeah. We talked about that bar in our iconic hotel bar episode, and a lot of those old drinks from that are like invented at a hotel. You read the ingredients and you're like, guys, do you need to keep making that?
To me, that drink is gross. I mean, I love an egg white cocktail. I love gin. I love everything in it. You would think that it would be my drink. Absolutely not. It's disgusting. F minus. No, thank you. And then my third is Bellman's Bar at the Carlisle Hotel. And I'm realizing that again, there's a bunch of murals in there. I didn't realize that that was the connective tissue of all of my favorite bars, but it is. I don't think I will ever get to stay at the Carlisle because I would have to sell my house to afford it.
Yeah.
But I can go to Bimmelman's and I would get a martini up with a twist at Bimmelman's Bar.
That's a classic. That's such a good answer.
Yes.
And the wallpaper there, I have to say, the wallpaper at the Bellarmine's Bar is actually the reason I started the podcast.
Are you serious?
Yeah, because there's a story behind it. It's the illustrator of Madeline.
Yes.
Right.
Mhm.
And I remember talking about it with my cousin or I can't remember who it was. And I'm like, did you know about this? And like Anthony Bourdain did an episode in New York and he went there and they talked about it. And I'm like, I love that there's this connection and the Plaza has Eloise, the Carlisle has this.
Mhm.
And that's when I was like, wait a second, there's all these little facts about hotels. And that's where the idea started.
That is so cool. I forgot to say the people. Okay, Caesar Ritz at the Pied Piper because I think he would really like to see the palace. Julia Child at the Sazerac in the Roosevelt in New Orleans because I would like to be in New Orleans with Julia Child. And Amelia Earhart at Bimmelman's at the Carlisle because she is a bad bitch and I think she would really enjoy herself there.
Oh my
Great.
God. Yes. Those are great answers.
Yes. I really appreciate that you picked 3 different bars, 3 different drinks, and 3 different people because
Sorry.
because that means you like really put your thought into it. And
I
you're like,
did.
what fits with each one of these? I love it. Tell our listeners where they can find you.
Well, I love to hang out on LinkedIn, and I am Susan Berry on LinkedIn. On Instagram, I am at Top Floor Pod or at Top Floor Mail Club. So stay tuned for more.
Yes. We have to do more collaboration.
Thanks for listening to Hotel History. You can follow us on most social media platforms, Patreon, and Substack by searching for Hotel History or Hotel History Podcast. To connect or collaborate with us, check out our website at hotelhistorypodcast.com. If you like what you hear, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify so we can reach more listeners.